In today's news, Thailand reports a rising level of COVID infections among the country's medical workers. Meanwhile, billionaire William Heinecke from Minor Group writes an open letter to the Thai Prime Minister. All this is coming up in today's show. Happy Friday, everyone. You're watching Thailand News Today, bringing you the latest headlines in Thailand and beyond. And in today's news, the board chairman of Minor International has called on the Thai government to reinstate the suspended test and go entry scheme. Failing that, William Heinecke says they should expand the number of sandbox destinations. Minor International is based in Bangkok and operates 530 properties, including the Anantara, Four Seasons, and Radisson Blu brands. In an open letter to Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, Mr. Heinecke says the government needs to acknowledge that the Omicron variant causes milder illness than previous variants, and therefore it needs to be handled differently. He says instead of shutting the country to foreign tourists, the government must focus on vaccinating the unvaccinated and rolling out booster doses. Heinecke says he wants to see the Thai government welcome tourists in the same manner as other countries. With the Omicron variant, measures such as mandatory health insurance and advance hotel bookings are not necessary, he says. Foreign tourists should only have to provide proof of vaccination and a negative COVID test in order to enter Thailand. Despite this, the governor of the Tourism Authority of Thailand says the test and go entry scheme may be resumed only once the Omicron situation improved. Yutasak Supasorn says that so far the variant is not affecting tourism sentiment on the southern island of Phuket. He says he met with the Phuket governor on Monday and was informed that most infected tourists are asymptomatic or only exhibit mild symptoms. These patients are given a choice of being admitted to hospitals or self-isolating in their hotel rooms or in a dedicated hospital. Yutasak says most tourists opt to isolate themselves in their own hotel rooms. The government's COVID task force says it is worried about a rising level of infections among the country's medical workers, and Dr. Sumani Wacharasin from the CCSA has called on all healthcare workers to come forward for a fourth vaccine dose. According to a Thai PBS World report, she says medical workers becoming infected is a cause for concern as it can have wider implications on hospital staffing. At Bangkok's Bhumibol Adulyadej Hospital, the emergency ward had to be temporarily closed recently due to a number of medics becoming infected with COVID-19. Sumani adds that in the eastern province of Chonburi, 16 doctors had contracted the virus in a single day. She says the increase in cases among healthcare workers means it's vital they get a fourth vaccine dose. Now, fourth doses have already been administered to over 500,000 frontline medical workers and other high-risk groups. Sumani says there has been no decision taken yet on when fourth doses might be rolled out to other groups. The CCSA has also said it's concerned about rising infections in tourism provinces operating sandbox schemes. Thai PBS World reports that in Bangkok, cases have risen significantly since the end-of-year holiday period. However, around the country, new case numbers appear to be evening out at around 7,000 to 8,000 a day. Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul says he's hopeful that cases of Omicron variant will not exceed 30,000 a day as previously feared. Meanwhile, the CCSA has ordered the Education Ministry to prepare for schools returning to on-site learning, including the development of contingency plans. Earlier this week, Sumani confirmed that there was no need to close schools where COVID-19 is detected, as most schools have effective measures in place to deal with such a scenario. She said closing schools would only further negatively affect children whose learning has already been disrupted for 2 years as a result of the pandemic.
Hi, Tim here from the Thaiger with Sean from 5 Star Marine, and a lot of people want to know about Maya Bay. It's a really popular place to come. Firstly, how long does it take to get to Maya Bay from here?
About 55 minutes by speedboat out there, and obviously reopened January 1st, and that reopening week was really busy. But what's happened now with Test and Go closing, a lot less people are coming to the island, and Maya Bay actually just in the last few days, only just a few boats going there. So it's the perfect time if you want to go and walk on Maya Bay. Now's the time to do it.
So the famed beach you could have pretty much all to yourself. As you can see, perfect weather. There's barely a cloud in the sky. We're lucky to be here. You can come here if you want to. The sandbox is still open. And 5-Star Marine are the people to contact if you want to head out to the islands. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Tim.
Health officials say there has been a surge in infections in Bangkok linked to restaurants, bars, and other crowded places like student dorms. 939 new cases were reported in the capital yesterday, 45 of which were imported. Dr. Sutat Chotanapan from the DDC says 300 of the local cases were contracted in restaurants operating as pubs or in other crowded places such as student dorms or police flats. In the case of restaurants and bars, Sutat says that any SHA Plus accredited venue found to have been flouting disease control measures will have their accreditation removed. He has also advised the public not to frequent poorly ventilated places, especially where people are not wearing face masks because they are eating and drinking. Meanwhile, Pongsakorn Hwan Mueang from the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration says there have been no major COVID clusters reported in the capital. Health officials have set aside around 10,000 beds to cope with the highly contagious Omicron variant. Currently, 18% of the capital's hospital beds are occupied by COVID patients. The BMA is also increasing the number of vaccination centers to 129. A group of 4 men are facing charges for allegedly hunting and killing 2 endangered Bengal tigers at a national park in Kanchanaburi, a western province bordering Myanmar. Thai park rangers got a report over the weekend that hunters were killing wild animals at Thong Phapum National Park near the border. Rangers found a camp that poachers had set up with 2 Bengal tiger pelts strung up to dry and the tiger meat still cooking on the grill. When the officers approached the campsite, a dog started barking, giving people at the campsite a chance to flee. The 4 alleged poachers then surrendered to police, claiming that their motive was simply to take revenge for their cows. They informed the police that they made a living by raising cattle, but 20 cows owned by them and other local farmers were killed by tigers over the past 2 months. They said that they did not know how to solve the problem. They allegedly used the dead cow meat as bait and killed the 2 tigers and insisted that there were no other motives behind this hunting. 4 renowned Thai women have been recognized in Forbes magazine's list of influential business leaders, scientists, and other notable figures. The 50 over 50 Asia 2022 list acknowledges those who are leaders in their fields in the Asia-Pacific region. Forbes published the list on Tuesday, and it includes Daripon Jarukornsakul, co-founder and chairwoman of logistics facilities company WHA Corporation. Forbes published the list on Tuesday, and it includes Daripon Jarukornsakul, co-founder and chairwoman of logistics facilities company WHA Corporation. 54-year-old Daripon has also been outspoken in her support of Thailand's plans for the Eastern Economic Corridor, and despite the challenges of COVID-19 restrictions in 2020, she managed to lead her firm to record a revenue of 9.4 billion baht and a net profit of 2.5 billion baht. The list also features Nuonpan Lamsam, president and CEO of Mueang Thai Insurance. Nuonpan, aka Madam Bang, also manages the national football team. As if that weren't enough, she could be running for Bangkok governor, a potential candidate of the ruling Palang Pracharat Party in the forthcoming election to choose who will lead City Hall. Also appearing on the Forbes list is Runwadi Suwanmongkol, Secretary General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. In her role, she has had to take on challenges such as blockchain technology and viruses causing unprecedented disruptions. Renowned chef Supinya Jansuta, aka Jefai, is also on the list. She is the 77-year-old owner of the Michelin-starred Ran Jefai restaurant in Bangkok. Being a self-taught cook who used to work as a seamstress, Supinya taught herself to master dishes such as Japanese omelets, a key influence behind the crab recipe that became her signature dish. She earned her Michelin star in 2018 and has held onto it every year since. And that concludes our report for the week. Thailand News Today will be back on Monday on the Thaiger channel. Also be on the lookout for our new channel next week, focusing on fun, provocative, and educational content. Meanwhile, you're now up to date on the Thaiger. Have a wonderful weekend.